Good Thursday afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Shrija Sinha, and on behalf of National Cooperative Union of India, I extend my warmest wishes to everyone on this prosperous New Year. And I would like to wish everyone a remarkable International Year of Cooperative 2025. As the part of NCUI's celebration of this momentous year, we are delighted to unveil our special interview series. This series is dedicated to bring into light and showcasing inspiring stories and thought-provoking conversations with pioneers and change makers shaping the global cooperative movement. And it is truly an honor to welcome all of you to the inaugural episode of this series. Joining us today is an extraordinary individual whose work needs no introduction. A true advocate of women entrepreneurship and empowerment, she has dedicated her life to uplift women in informal sector through her initiatives in health, insurance, childcare, and pension. Her steady commitment to cooperative identity and inclusive development is truly inspiring. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Mirai Chatterjee, ma'am. Her remarkable journey began in 1984 when she led SEWA as General Secretary. She is the founder of Vimo Seva and Lok Swasth Health Cooperative. She also chairs the Gujarat State Women SEWA Cooperative Federation, which represents approximately 3 lakh women members. Welcome, ma'am. It's truly a privilege to have you here with us. I would also like to humbly welcome Sri Sanjay Verma, sir, advisor NCUI, providing the context of this conversation, and he will be leading us through this discussion. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sinha and Sanjay ji, who I've known for many years.
Thank you, madam. I extend a hearty welcome again to Mirai Chatterjee ji. Shrija has already spoken a lot about her. So we welcome you to the series, ma'am. Actually, we are starting a series of conversations in this International Year of Cooperatives, where we'll be, taking interviews or be engaged in conversations with, the top people in the cooperative sector, and most importantly, also the beneficiaries and the common man who have, benefited from the cooperatives. So in this first series, we are honored that we are featuring you, and basically the idea behind is because in this International Year of Cooperatives, we need to create awareness about the cooperatives amongst the masses, amongst all sections of the society. And these podcasts, these interview sessions, they have become a very effective communication strategy to reach the people, particularly those who are not associated with the cooperatives. And that remains the biggest challenge, how to maintain communication with the non-cooperative world in the cooperative sector. So that is the idea behind this series like that. And based on this, I'm initiating the conversation. And the first question, which for you is that we have recently seen the grand success of the ICA General Cooperative Conference, and this has given a real momentum to the growth of the cooperative movement globally and also in India also. So in the wake of this, against this background, what is the significance of this year's International Year of Cooperatives?
Well, first, thank you very much for having me. We feel honored to be part of this communication process that you have initiated. And I'm happy to represent on behalf of my SEWA sisters and their cooperatives, who are all in the SEWA Cooperative Federation, as you both have mentioned. So coming now to your question, Sanjay ji, I must say that it was a very exciting and exhilarating event for all of us who had traveled, 20 of us, grassroots women cooperative leaders, all of us who had traveled from Gujarat. And I think it was a very important event and development because it put the spotlight on cooperatives again. Fair and square, the spotlight was on cooperatives, what has been done, what can be done, the tremendous potential and role of cooperatives in this country, in our country, India, and also globally. It was a rich experience of exchanges. And what's very clear is cooperatives are the way of the future. Particularly after the COVID pandemic, we have seen that it was cooperatives which remained strong, which were resilient, which supported their shareholders and members, and also led to equitable and inclusive development. I think one of the biggest challenges in the world today is the widening gap between haves and have-nots. Inequality has reared its ugly head in every country, not just in our own country. And of course, the inequality gap has increased tremendously. We have a large youth population in our country, what we call the demographic dividend. So, if we are to reap the benefits of this dividend, I have no doubt that cooperatives are the way because we cannot provide jobs to everybody. It's just not possible. So, if young people and others come together in the cooperative, as we saw in the ICA conference, then they can begin to work together. And this, it's not just for their own benefit, economic benefit, but this collective, collaborative, cooperative approach spreads throughout the community. So there is huge social impact. And we saw that from country after country whose experiences were shared with the cooperative. And coming to India, this was the dream of Mahatma Gandhi: decentralized, bottom up growth, equitable growth, inclusive growth, no one left behind, sharing and spreading the prosperity. All of these themes were picked up at the conference, and I think we need to take the momentum from the conference and move it forward in our own country, in our own ways, across the country. There's as much to do, and we were energized after the conference, but now we must move forward.
After the success of this event, do you think that India is now well positioned to take a lead in the celebrations of the International Year of Cooperatives?
Oh, absolutely. We have a strong, robust, and vibrant cooperative movement in this country. We're proud of our cooperative movement. Of course, there are gaps. For example, there is a gap in women's leadership in the cooperative movement, not only in India, but globally. We saw also at the ICA conference, even on the dais, even on the stage at plenary, there were few women who were given the opportunity, and it's because there are few women in the leadership. And yet, women are so economically active and so active in cooperatives, if only they're given a chance and an opportunity. But coming back to India taking the leadership, I think a country as vast and diverse and energetic and vibrant as ours has a lot to offer. So, yes, we should be in the leadership, but cooperatives, by their nature, promote collective leadership. So, we alone can't be in the leadership. There are many others. For example, the country of Rwanda has spread cooperative movement to almost all its citizenry. Then there's the Basque region of Spain. So many others also are there from whom we can learn, and we have a lot to share, of course. So I do feel India should be part of the leadership for all the reasons I've mentioned, but it should be also in collaboration and cooperation with other countries who have also taken leadership and have much to offer.
Yeah, that's a very fair type of, answer which I have got from you, Dr. Chatterjee, because, there's so many other small countries, they have also, they're well positioned to take a lead, to perform very well in the celebrations of the International Year of Cooperatives. But then after the success of this general, IC General Cooperative Congress, India definitely presents a role model and to other countries, and it has a lot of potential also, the largest cooperative movement in the world. So definitely it is in a good position, while other countries, and which you rightly say that it will be a more a solidarity type of, celebrations like that.
Exactly.
And we need to look into that framework. So moving ahead, I just want to ask that in this International Year of Cooperatives, how is SEWA prepared in this International Year of Cooperatives? What will be the thrust areas of your activities and programs during this International Year of Cooperatives like that? And how will it be different from the earlier years?
Well, first of all, we're very excited to be part of the cooperative movement in this year of cooperatives. And, while we have been doing many things, as you said, I think spotlight on certain areas, for example, involving more young people in cooperatives. And as you said right at the beginning, spreading awareness about cooperatives, how cooperatives can help build prosperous but equitable and inclusive societies where we can close the inequality gap. That awareness is not there in the general public, and certainly it's not there among the informal workers with whom we work and their families, and particularly their children. I mean, they have dreams for their children. Now they're educated, not getting paid government jobs or other type of jobs in the formal economy. So cooperatives offer an alternative. So they need to know about it. What is possible? What can they do? How can they do? How can they be supported? So first of all, youth inclusion. Then we are in the technology age, so further digitization of cooperatives. There is a gender digital gap in our country, and we intend to close the gap. Several of our cooperatives are already digitizing. They would like to digitize further. For example, our insurance cooperative, Vimo Seva, has developed an app, and via the app, our grassroots insurance promoters, like agents, they are, enrolling people, uploading all their documents in time of claims, and also directly putting the monies from claims into their bank account. But more needs to be done. And similarly, recently we have joined with an organization called the Algorand Foundation, which is US based and which is providing cutting edge blockchain technology. So our health cooperative is working with the Algorand Foundation to develop digital health passports. So all women's, documents like Aadhaar card or whatsoever will be kept safely in the government digital locker. So all that is going on. So that is closing the gender digital divide. Also digital literacy. Women are keen to use technology, but they don't get the chance. Frankly, if there is some device in the household, the first people who grab that device are the men in the family, and the women chance comes later. So we need to change that. And also cooperatives need to digitize. So their systems are, more streamlined, and they can spend more time on the business and reaching out to the members as they grow rather than doing everything manually. So that's another thing. Then we are in the era of climate change. We have initiated an action research program, how climate is affecting cooperatives and women's businesses in the cooperatives. So that is an ongoing thing, but we need to do much more, and we're going to highlight that as well in this era. And most of all, I would say we would like to extend our services more and more to women led cooperatives and others also across the country. And that process has started. But I think the spotlight on the International Year of Cooperatives will give us a boost to extend our business development, capacity building, other services. And I think here, as you are doing, communication is very important. So we have a whole 32 years of experience of grassroots informal worker cooperatives. So we have all this knowledge, but we need to do more for knowledge management. And in fact, we are in discussion with our colleagues in the Japanese cooperative movement, how they can help us streamline this huge body of knowledge that we have so we can make it available and useful to others also. That's part of cooperation. That's part of solidarity. So there are some of these ideas. Actually, we have a long list of ideas. And even as we speak, my colleagues are shortlisting which are the ones, which are the priority ones we would like to take up. So these, I just gave you a little glimpse of some of what we plan to do. We'd also like to have a large sammelan, a large gathering of women cooperative leaders in Gujarat, in Delhi, in fact, with the NCUI, so that we highlight the role and contribution of women's leadership and women's cooperatives in this year of cooperatives.
I want to just ask one more question, just to adding to you, whatever you have answered. SEWA has been a huge cooperative model for women specifically, and they have taken a lot of initiatives, especially forming the federation in different fields like agriculture, service sector, and everything. Then we have Seva Bank, then we have Seva Bharat, Rudy, everything. So, what past models which you have already initiated can other similar cooperatives can take in this year? So, can you highlight on this a bit more?
Absolutely. I think what's very important are values. That is the bedrock. What are the values by which we form the cooperatives in the first place? Who are they for? And here we remember Gandhiji and his idea of Antyodaya, putting the poorest and the weakest and the most vulnerable in the center of all our efforts. So, first of all, as far as SEWA is concerned, our members, who are all informal women workers, the most vulnerable, the poorest in our country, from mostly socially disadvantaged communities like Dalit and Adivasi, they are central to all our efforts. So it was from there that we is our starting point. We sit together, we consult with them, we co-create. We decide together what kinds of cooperatives they would like to create. For example, those who are women farmers come together, we brainstorm what are their needs, how can we address their needs by forming a cooperative. So I think the bottom line is first, you start with women in the center, women workers. I would like to underline workers because I saw this time at ICA that many of the cooperatives were not worker cooperatives. They were not cooperatives of people who are from the most vulnerable in our societies, not just India and other places as well, and nothing wrong with that. But as far as Seva is concerned, we start with the most vulnerable and those who are usually forgotten by society, socially and economically excluded. So that's point number one. They're informal women worker cooperatives. Point number two, as I already said, co-creating. Start where they are. What are their needs? What are their demands? And then build up bottom up from there. And then the third experience we have is the importance of financial services, particularly working capital. If you don't have working capital, then how are you going to manage your business? How are you going to grow the business? And right now, quite frankly, for tiny and small women cooperatives, it's very difficult to access finance. We cannot go to NCDC. We've been there many times, National Cooperative Development Corporation. They're very respectful. They listen to us. They give us a patient hearing. But they deal with the large cooperatives, the Amuls and the IFCOs and the big fish workers cooperatives and others. They told us, cooperatives that need 3 to 5 lakhs, maximum 10 lakhs to grow their business, it's too difficult for us to manage. And I understand that also. So there has to be a way, there has to be a livelihood fund rather, that will jumpstart or help to grow these cooperatives. So that's another major learning. Capacity building. We live in a patriarchal society. If all your life you're told you cannot do, and suddenly we are saying you can do at SEWA. So it takes a lot of encouragement, a lot of support. And believe me, once with that little encouragement support, women take it and run ahead, even much far ahead of their male counterparts. I mean, SEWA Bank is a case in point. Started with 40,000 share capital. Today it's over 600 crores. And it's all deposits of small depositors, people who earn hardly 200-300 rupees per day. So it's possible and it's running for last 50 years. So, good governance also is critical. Women's leadership is critical. As I said, support and encouragement to them. These are all the ingredients, if you will, that have to go into the mix. And these are some of the things we've learned all these years.
Recently, I just went through an ILO report featuring SEWA cooperatives. So that
Yeah.
was a very, very, insightful, report which has come. And congratulations to you. And that report mentions also that, for example, it mentions in the end that, there's a need to develop the business mindset of the poor workers. They are lacking in that respect. And you have just said that, SEWA presents a model of democratic, real democracy like that, work, working according to the cooperative principles and values like that. So this is a hindering factor which mentioned in that report like that. So what do you, can you elaborate further on this like that?
Sure.
That if
Sure.
how this working according to cooperative principles and values, and at the same time having business mindset, that is also important. And another important thing which you have mentioned is that you are facing lot of problems in women face a lot of problems in availing credit and all those things like that,
Right.
facilities. So in this International Year of Cooperatives, do you think that there may be, the government has come up with so many initiatives to strengthen the cooperative movement, but I think the women cooperatives, I think that maybe it's a lacking factor, and maybe we need, in this International Year of Cooperatives, the government needs to come up with proper support to women cooperatives, maybe a women cooperative centric scheme like that. Foresee this development in this International Year of Cooperatives, and in the wake of what you have mentioned, so many of the problems that women workers are facing regarding like that. Please.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. So the first thing I wanted to say is about the mindset issue, which you brought up. And SEWA is not unique in this way, even in Europe and in many other countries. Our cooperatives developed from the labor movement through unionizing. As Ila Bhatt, our late founder, unionized self-employed women, she realized the importance of cooperatives because most of our people are self-employed, because we are a labor surplus economy. I work for you, and if I raise the demand of minimum wage and better working conditions, I lose my work. I'm thrown out of work, and there are another 10 people waiting in line for that work. And that's really how she got the idea that in a country like ours, along with union organizing, you need to build cooperatives. So it's a joint action of union and cooperatives. That is what mutually strengthens each of these movements. However, most of the SEWA cooperatives developed out of the trade union organizing. So, running and organizing in a campaign for better working conditions and minimum wages is rather different from running a business. There's some people who can do both, but many people cannot. And that is why the business mindset has to be inculcated, that this is a different type of activity. You need, not only you need working capital, but you need a proper business plan, you need deadlines, you need governance, you need financial management, the kind of things that typically you may not need in the labor movement because you're not doing a business there. So this is why it's been a bit of a struggle. Although we are fortunate, we live and work in a very entrepreneurial state. Gujarat is known for entrepreneurship, but inculcating the sense of collective entrepreneurship at the grassroots level has no doubt been a challenge and continues to be a challenge. And I think coming to your next question, I think what's very heartening is that government is keen to focus on women-led development. So there is the political will at the highest level. There's political will and commitment to deepen and further the cooperative movement in India. But the big question is how? How do you do it? You can at the macro level decide on that, but then you have to first of all put money into it. There have to be budgets, and it's not just resources, it's systems have to be created which are simple, which make it easy for women to get loans. Of course, all the due diligence should be done. Are you getting your audits regularly, financial management, probity, compliance, all of that for sure. But then after that, enabling women to get access to finance, for example, because the procedures as they are so complicated, so many documents. Actually, a lot of our time just goes in collecting all these documents. Then someone's name before marriage is this, after marriage is, it's just takes us sometimes a year to just get the documentation together. So I think we need to create an enabling environment if we're serious about promoting women's cooperatives. But I also think, Sanjay ji, that in the existing cooperatives, why not more women? Why are there not more women in the leadership of, the large cooperatives of this country? Why are there not more women on their boards? I mean, the process has begun. So I'm hopeful, but much more needs to be done. And I think this year of cooperatives, let us take it as an opportunity to move that agenda, the agenda of women's leadership in the Indian cooperative movement forward. It shouldn't just be in women's cooperatives like SEWA. We're 100% women. So obviously we have women on the boards. But what about everybody else? So women's leadership needs to be mainstreamed. In self-help groups, they are there, collectives and all, but more needs to be done. And I think, as I said, the will is there. And I believe the new cooperative policy also will have something to say on all of this. But yes, we need to do more together. Basically, we have to give space to women and encouragement and support. As we say, as long as that chair is occupied, no one else will get a chance. So, we have
And
to
you
work
have,
on it.
in the conversation, madam, you have already mentioned about the need for creating youth awareness also. But
That's
then
right.
this ILO report also mentions, it mentions that, youth inclusivity has been a big challenge for SEWA like that. So considering all these things, what should be the way out like that in the wake of the report recommendation and what you have mentioned just now?
Well, I think for one thing, young people don't know the power of cooperatives. They don't know what cooperatives can offer in terms of livelihood, employment, income, that it's an alternative. First of all, that awareness and knowledge is simply not there. And that's where your comms team, SEWA Cooperative Federation's communications team, and others need to do much more. And we need to go down to the grassroots, have meetings the old fashioned way also, digitally, of course, but the old fashioned way of going door to door, house to house, sitting under a tree in the villages and speaking to people, young people, answering their questions. They have so many questions and doubts. We need to answer those first of all. Then we need to see what is their skill level. And if the skill level is such that we need to upgrade the skills, then so be it. What we hear from young people is that they don't want to be farmers. They don't want to do some of the traditional activities that their mothers and aunties were doing. And their mothers and aunts and grandmothers, we have formed their cooperatives years back. But now they have different dreams. They'd like to be part of the new economy, the digital economy. So, we have to first sit together and understand both what are the dreams, aspirations, what are the skill level, how can we match the skill with employment. There are n number of training programs, but at the end of the day, what young people want is work, employment, jobs. So we need to do that matching with the corporate sector, with the public sector, with the cooperative sector, all sectors. So I think there's much to do. We've made a small beginning with our members' children and daughters and bahus, their daughters-in-law. We have trained them, to be grassroots researchers, use of data, analyzing the data, using digital tools for research, communication, how to communicate better through using digital tools and technology. That has been done, and with the support, I must say, of the UK cooperative movement. And we are considering making a cooperative. It's in the experimental stage to see how it would work. Because many people are doing research, they can't find data, those to collect data, analyze data in local languages like Gujarati language. So that's what we're working on now and seeing whether that would work. Then the care economy, which we haven't really spoken about today, offers huge possibilities for livelihood and in a way that is dignified. We're not only talking about domestic workers, there's that, but also elderly care as India ages. More and more care workers are required. They need to be trained in geriatric care. They need to know what to do, or child care also. It's not just keeping children in a room and keeping them safe. It's stimulating their minds. It's early childhood care. So a lot of training, skilling can be done, which will give result in higher incomes.
I think Child Care Cooperative is working under SEWA. I think that is doing good work also. Maybe you plan to diversify into elderly care, which you are mentioning, that can be one of the areas of diversification. And the initiative which you have taken in climate change is also very heartening, because India, the cooperatives need to be the leaders in sustainability in the International Year of Cooperatives. So again, the another very important question, Madam, comes that in this International Year of Cooperatives, for how do you think that the voice of the cooperatives, more particularly the women cooperatives, will become stronger?
Well, we certainly hope so, but it won't happen automatically. All of us need to work hard for that. Already women, whether in women's cooperatives or women in, general cooperatives, are doing a lot. They're contributing actively to India's economy, society, and GDP, but it's not being recognized. So we hope that in this year there'll be more voice for women and women's leadership in the cooperative movement. There'll be more visibility for all that they do, both paid work in cooperatives, unpaid work at home, taking care of the family, and so many other things which go unrecognized, unfortunately, at the present time. So, voice, visibility, and validity. I think also what they are doing, what they are contributing to the nation's economy and society and globally is valid. It's significant. It must be acknowledged. It must be recognized. So, this year of the cooperatives again can bring a greater focus on the three V's, as we call them. And, other things I've also mentioned that, we can also think about having, like we have at SEWA, Women's Enterprise Support System, which will provide a whole range of services from business development, capacity building, how to do all the various compliances, communication, so that their work is more visible. All of this can be done.
Actually, just want to ask a small question. You were just talking about government policies which will be supporting women. What kind of policies and schemes and programs are you looking forward from the government side? What kind of policies you expect governments to come with to empower the women through SEWA or any cooperative as such?
Sure. So, as we know, cooperatives are a state subject, and there's a lot of statewide variation. We are fortunate we live in a state which believes firmly in cooperatives and has a strong cooperative movement, the state of Gujarat. But this is our sisters, our SEWA sisters in other states are not so fortunate. So I think first of all, at the state level also, we have to create an enabling environment. We have to ensure autonomy of cooperatives. Unfortunately, we've had one or two experiences with some states where the government cooperative department insisted on being present for the cooperatives elections, which is no problem at all. One is open to that, transparent. But then they don't give a date, and then it gets postponed, and then the cooperative can't function. I'm talking from our real life experience. So, what we expect from the states, since cooperative is a state subject, is an enabling environment, enabling laws so that it makes it easier for women's cooperatives and women in general to be part of the cooperative movement. So that's first and foremost. And then also at the central level, we're looking forward very much for the new cooperative policy. We are very hopeful, having seen a few earlier drafts and discussions with Chairperson Suresh Prabhuji, who kindly came to the SEWA Cooperative Federation. I really appreciate, sat with the women cooperative leaders, discussed, we came up with recommendations. We co-created the recommendations. Then with Dilip Sanghani ji, he has been so supportive. The Delhi Declaration which 120 women cooperators signed on to across the length and breadth of our country. He carried that to the committee. So there's been a lot of recommendations that have been given to the committee, which has been preparing the new cooperative policy. So we are very optimistic and hopeful that these recommendations to strengthen women's cooperatives and women's leadership in cooperatives will find some place in the new cooperative policy. So I really hope it comes out soon, because it's been a while now and lots of back and forth has happened, which is required.
Well, I think we are at the end of the conversation. At the end, in fact, I will just ask a simple a simple question like that. You're representing a very successful women cooperative. So during the International Year of Cooperatives, what three areas which you think should be the focus, and so that the celebrations become successful?
So I think one is awareness about cooperatives. People, as we have said throughout this conversation, do not know about cooperatives, the immense power and potential of cooperatives to build a better world, a world which is equitable, which fights inequality, which is inclusive, which focuses on bottom-up growth in all countries. So I think greater awareness, cooperative education in our schools, in our universities, in our mohallas, in our kasbas, in our villages, everywhere. People simply don't know. So a whole lot of awareness related activities. The second, I would say, women's leadership, which is lacking still in the Indian cooperative movement and global cooperative movement, not just the Indian cooperative movement. So I think this is an opportunity to focus on women's leadership and give it a boost. And the third, I think we're very well placed to focus on the social and solidarity economy and all it needs to grow. I have repeatedly mentioned the importance of investing and working capital, but it's investing in capacity building, in the businesses, in showing another way, as our Indian cooperatives have shown, and also cooperatives in other countries have shown. So I think these are the two or three things. And finally, an enabling policy environment. We are fortunate in our country. We have the will, we have the commitment at the highest level in this country, but that has to go right down to the grassroots where the action is happening. So I think an enabling policy environment will also be very important, so that cooperatives can also do cross business horizontally, can also export. We have so many products in our country and we produce them. We produce beautiful products, quality products and services. They should reach the global market. So there are many things also that we can do in the policy environment.
You have repeatedly mentioned about, creating a digital platform for the women products of the women cooperatives, the products of the women-led cooperatives. So, do you think this is the right time? It will be a big boost to digitalization.
Oh, absolutely, Sanjay ji. That's very much required in this digital age, online marketing. We have Amazon and this and that, which we know are so business minded. They're not based on the cooperative model at all, quite frankly. So we should also have, and I know government is thinking of it. We have the GEM portal, which we've been trying to work with. And, there's been again a lot of back and forth. We ourselves have been trying some online work, but what we found is that online marketing takes a lot of investment. That is not something that cooperative federations like ours can undertake. We can do it at a lower level, but the kind of massive investment in digital platforms and digital marketing, that has to come either from private sector investment or public sector. Government has to. And government is doing, but we need to do much more.
Thank you, madam.
I just want to ask the last question now. There are so many women cooperatives apart from SEWA which are working. What do you want to what do you want to say to them, all the other women cooperatives who are working around the country? What message you want to give to them?
I would love to say, let's hear about your work more. Make your work visible, make your voice visible. We had with NCUI a very successful, Sanjay ji will recall, in December 22, a very successful conference. We held it at NCUI. And really, it was inspiring for us SEWA sisters to listen to our sisters working in other cooperatives. There's so much to learn from each other. So I would say we'd like to know more about you. Try and find ways of being more visible, maybe with NCUI and NCUI communication and research teams help. But we'd like to know more about you. Where are you, first of all? Um, we'd like to see where you are, what you're doing. Share it more locally with your state government, and hopefully also it'll come up to the national level. And finally, my message is keep on keeping on. Don't give up. You have to build up your leadership through your cooperative. You're already doing so much. Keep on keeping on. And reach out if ever you need any support. Reach out to your sisters in the SEWA Cooperative Federation.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you for adding so much depth to our conversation. It was really great having you here. I would also like to thank Sanjay Verma, sir, and our IT team who has been support through all this conversation. Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank both of you and the National Cooperative Union of India, of which we are a member. We are proud to be a member of NCUI and work together with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot. Thanks.